Iceland has declared a state of emergency amid rising fears of a volcanic eruption. There is now a significant likelihood of this eruption in the coming days. The country has experienced hundreds of earthquakes in recent days too, and even sparked an evacuation of a town amid the warning of a magma tunnel that is currently forming that could reach the town. Joining me now from the Department of Earth Science at Cambridge University, Professor Nicholas Rawlinson. Professor, good afternoon to you. You've been following this and tracking this. Just give us an overview then. What are we looking at here? What's happening right now and how bad could this be?
Well, so what we're looking at now is a dike intrusion that is about 15 kilometres long and extends northeast to southwest, just north of Grindavík, which is a town of about 3,500 people in the southwestern part of the Reykjanes Peninsula. And the IMO, the Icelandic Met Office, have estimated that magma's about 800 metres below the surface, very roughly. And there's been a lot of micro-earthquakes associated with the intrusion of this dike.
So all of this points to an inevitable eruption? Is that the
well,
way
it's
to
not
describe?
necessarily inevitable, and that's one thing about these volcanic systems. You can't guarantee anything. And as an example, in 2022, in a region not too far away from here, there was a dike intrusion that ended up not erupting at the surface. So nothing is guaranteed here, although the volume of melt that has been estimated is higher than previously, and the rate of seismicity and some of the size of the earthquakes are suggesting that eruption could well be imminent, but we just can't guarantee it.
Sure. What does an eruption look like? I mean, just a schoolboy question perhaps, but you take my point. I mean, are we looking at something seismic and devastating? Is this something that can be controlled in the sense that human life can be protected because we have notice? What's the deal?
Yeah, so since 2021, there's been 3 eruptions actually along the Reykjanes Peninsula, and they've been further northeast, which have been in an unpopulated area. And those eruptions have been what we call effusive. So along the length of the dike, the crack forms at the surface and the magma sort of pours out. Not quite like water, but it sort of fountains up, and it's very low viscosity, so it flows and forms these lava flows. And if it did erupt, that's the most likely kind of scenario we'd see along the dike. The problem is we don't know exactly where along the dike it might erupt, and therefore that's why they've evacuated Grindavík, the town, and they're considering putting a wall around the geothermal power plant at Svartsengi, which is near where the dike is as well.
Yeah, God bless the world of science, really, I guess. Today we're able to plot and chart this stuff to a degree, at least. Of course, Iceland have a history, as you alluded to. I mean, it's been bad in recent years, of course. We remember famously when an eruption did cause a certain amount of chaos.
Yes, that was in 2010 when a subglacial volcano erupted and shut down European airspace for a while, and that cost a huge amount of money. This is somewhat a different kettle of fish. Along the peninsula, there hasn't been an eruption prior to 2021 anyway. There hasn't been an eruption for 800 years, and this is the start of what looks like a new cycle of eruptive activity that may last decades or more. So it's going to be an interesting place for us to study in the years ahead.
The weather and these kind of events are always described as sort of out of human control. Mother Nature is far more powerful than us mere mortals, etc. But are there things that could happen? I noticed on, I know you should never really look at Twitter and places like that for it's not exactly the Oracle of Delphi over there on social media, but you have a little look once in a while, and people are plotting all sorts of theories about what could happen. Why can't they drill kind of little release holes around volcanoes to allow pressure to come out elsewhere? Is all of this pie in the sky stuff, or is there some possibility in some of these ideas?
Well, that sort of intervention, I think the difficulty there is we have this 15-kilometre long dike, and where you would drill in the first place would be very hard to work out. Yeah. So it's better to let nature take its course. But Iceland has had some success in the past of, adjusting what nature has in store for it. There was a case in 1973, I think it was, when an eruption on an island just south of Iceland, where there was a small town, the lava flow was endangering the harbour and may have blocked it off, but they sprayed a lot of water on it and managed to prevent it from actually blocking the harbour. So in terms of human intervention of lava flows, there has been some success in the past. Now, whether they can pull anything off this time with building up banks of dirt and so forth, it's hard to know, but they're preparing to do that.
Is there a bit of you, I mean, you are essentially Professor of Volcanoes. I know that's not your official title, but is there a part of you that, as long as, you know, life is protected and everything, that really wants to see an eruption? Isn't that like part of studying this kind of stuff? They are, after all, rather spectacular.
It's what inspires you to do that kind of science to start with. And, you know, if it does erupt, I would very much like to go and see it. Yeah. I'll be honest there. But of course, you know, the main thought is that it doesn't kill anyone or damage significant amounts of property. So that's the thing I hope for above all.
Indeed. Listen, Professor, great to have you on, sir. Thank you very much indeed. We'll follow this over the coming hours and see what is happening over there in Iceland. And, of course, any breaking news on that first here on TalkTV.